Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk about Vasyl Lomachenko's very hard fought victory over JERMAINE ORTIZ. I had the fight 7 rounds to 5 to Lomachenko. I thought it was a very close fight. I had rounds 2, 3 and 6 as swing rounds, and I gave the second to Ortiz, the third and the 6th to Lomachenko. So I had one of those two Loma swings gone to Ortiz. It's a draw. If they both go to Ortiz, I have Ortiz winning the fight. We're talking about a very close fight here. I thought 115, 113, therefore, as I had it, was the right scorecard. One of the judges had it that way. I have no problem with 116, 112. 117, 111 was too wide for me. Nonetheless, I felt the right man got the job done. But I think that there were a lot of concerning signs there for Vasyl Lomachenko as he prepares to fight DEVIN HANEY. I don't think they could have picked a better opponent in the lightweight division as preparation for DEVIN HANEY. Yes, Ortiz does a few things that maybe Haney doesn't do and vice versa. Ortiz likes to switch it, for instance. But in general, there are a lot of similarities there in the style. Certain elements that Lomachenko will have to overcome if he's going to beat DEVIN HANEY. And you saw a lot of those elements last night give Loma some real problems. So let's talk about those. We spoke in the Haney Kambosos rematch preview about the swordsman versus the spearman, and how essentially, go back and watch that video to know the analogy if you want to understand exactly what it is I'm talking about. But essentially, one of the areas that Kambosos was going to have a problem with is that although he's a very good counter puncher, he does see shots come in and slip them and then jump in. Closing that distance, that range, is difficult for Kambosos against a man who's as long and as big as DEVIN HANEY. You saw post-fight when Haney got in the ring, Lomachenko actually joked, this guy's a lightweight. He looked absolutely massive compared to Lomachenko. He looks like a guy who would be very comfortable at welterweight. He's a massive lightweight, and this is Lomachenko's third weight category. So in terms of sheer size, you're talking about multiple weight categories between them. The length is a massive difference in the two fighters. So what you're going to see is a similar problem potentially that Kambosos had in terms of trying to close the range. Now, Vasyl Lomachenko's footwork is not George Kambosos's. You saw last night he was able to come in fairly consistently, so that's not going to cost him the fight, but it's one obstacle that he will have to overcome. And at range, Ortiz, having started early last night, being very active early on, he did say in the preview to the fight that he felt that Lomachenko was a slow starter and he had to start quickly, and you saw that. And I had him going 2 rounds to 0 up because he started to put in that activity, getting behind the jab, dropping the backhand to the body, just ensuring that Lomachenko is forced to get out of the pocket and keep him out of the pocket, something Teofimo Lopez did very well. Every time he would try to reset to come back in, he would launch him again and keep him on the outside. Now that requires high energy output, and DEVIN HANEY has had some problems with his stamina. So is he going to be able to work at the same tempo as Ortiz? That remains to be seen. But stylistically, he has a very active long jab, and you could end up seeing another situation of the spearman versus the swordsman. Now when Lomachenko did get inside, and he had a lot of success, like I said in the second half of the fight, I had him sweep in the last 4 rounds. But when he did get inside and they were both fresh, you saw that there was a serious discrepancy in terms of the physicality on the inside. And there was also a little wrinkle that Ortiz brought into the fold on the inside that caused Loma some serious problems. In round 3, you saw that Lomachenko buzzed Ortiz. And as he went to jump on him, Ortiz literally just grabbed him. He just tied him up. And you saw that he instantly stopped Lomachenko's ability to work. There was a significant physical discrepancy in strength. Additionally to that, in round 4, with 1 minute and 29 seconds of the round remaining, you saw Ortiz do something that DEVIN HANEY likes to do an awful lot. Something we spoke about in the preview of the first Haney Kambosos fight, I believe it was, where the review, DEVIN HANEY likes to dip low and then launch in with his shoulder. He thrusts in with his shoulder. It's almost like a rugby tackle. And you saw as Lomachenko sought to jump in, because he's having to cover a lot of ground, as he's using those fast feet to get inside, you saw Ortiz come low, thrust in with that shoulder, bump Loma and tie him up. So Loma's had to work very hard to get inside. Once he gets inside, again, you see Ortiz very able, in a manner that DEVIN HANEY's using, to tie up Vasyl Lomachenko. Now again, I'm not comparing Loma to Kambosos, don't get it twisted. Loma is arguably the most skilled fighter in the world. If we're talking about sheer skill, I'm not talking about who's pound for pound number 1, I'm not talking about who's the best fighter in the world. If we're just talking about skills, in the way, in football, soccer, for instance, for our American friends, you've got Erling Haaland, who's arguably the best striker in the world. but he's not the most skilled. You don't see him doing step overs and flicks and tricks. He's not that sort of guy. So we're not talking about overall ability before people lose their minds. We're talking about in sheer terms of skill. For me, Loma and Chocolatito have little tricks that they're able to do that nobody else really has in the sport. They're just levels when it comes to that. But for all of that, physicality and athleticism does count. It does matter. Size matters. So Ortiz was able to bring that into play. The other problem that Lomachenko had, when he was up close and he was seeking to tie up Ortiz, or Ortiz had initiated the clinch and Loma was seeking to stay safe, he would tie up the left hand of Ortiz by getting a hook over the top of the elbow and hooking the actual arm. So he's almost hugging the arm individually. Okay, now that takes away the lead hand, and he's trying to hug him and stay close, putting his chest flat onto the chest of Ortiz. So he's pulling in the arm and trying to stay in right up close to stop Ortiz from working. What Ortiz was able to do is just drop that back shoulder just a little bit back, just to create a bit of space, keep relaxed, keep that right arm low, and then through there just shoot uppercuts right up close to the body, to the chin if it was available. If the chin wasn't available, he was roughing him up on the inside to the body. And there were numerous occasions, even at range, where Lomachenko was caught to the body and he did not like it. This is not the Lomachenko of old. I'm sorry, he's not. Like I always say on this channel, too many people watch superhero movies. Stop watching Marvel. It's ruining your minds. Nobody is invincible. Nobody is immortal. The only undefeated, undisputed champion that will remain so is Father Time. And you are seeing that it is catching up to Lomachenko. His feet, although they're very fast, and if you look at the early rounds, although I had it 3-3 after 6, so I've got it close. A lot of people seem to focus on activity that's coming at Lomachenko. Bullets are flying. But instead of focusing on the opponent throwing the punches or trying to look in between them, one of the ways that you should try and observe, because I think a lot of people struggle a little bit with their eye when it comes to boxing, is focus on the target. Look at the head of Loma. Look at the body of Loma. Look at the head and the body of Ortiz. And then you start to see more what's landing. And you could see that a lot of shots fall short. He'll catch him on a glove. He'll move backwards. And it looks like, if you're just watching it from afar, Ortiz is letting go of his hands and Loma's being moved around the ring. When you're watching it up close, you see that actually a lot of these things are missing. Okay, so he's very, very good with his defense, Lomachenko. But Loma, although he was very good still with his defense, he's not coming in and switching the angle as quickly as he used to do. He doesn't transition from the back foot defense to a front foot offense as quickly as he used to. This is just a reality, guys. So you're talking about an aging 34-year-old lightweight, which is old for a lightweight, okay? This is not heavyweight division. This is old for a lightweight. You're talking about an aging 34-year-old lightweight that relies a lot on reflexes, movement and angles, who's had to adapt his style to more of a Chocolatito type approach, where he's almost staying in the pocket a lot more now to be a pressure fighter. That's what he has to do if he's going to have success, because of the size difference against the guys he's operating against. He can't afford to stay on the outside, pop from the outside, move around the ring and reset. He has to find a way to get in the pocket and stay in the pocket and change those angles inside. You're having a guy who's now having to do that aging against much bigger, more athletically gifted younger men who are physically stronger than him, and who are able to find little angles on the inside and rough him up too. The fact that Lomachenko is able to be beating these guys, the likes of Luke Campbell, the likes of Jermaine Ortiz, the fact that he was able to, although he lost the fight against Teofimo Lopez, win the last few rounds and hurt Teo and look really good, and you're thinking if this is a 15-round fight, he might actually win this fight. The fact that he's able to do those things is extraordinary. But it's a 12-round fight, and he's up against an undisputed lightweight champion who's at the peak of his game, who is continually improving. The fight he had against Kambosos in the rematch was the best I've ever seen Devin Haney look. That wasn't the Devin Haney that fought Kambosos even in the first fight. It wasn't Devin Haney that fought Jojo Diaz or Jorge Linares. His movement off of his attacks, after his attacks, his defensive movement is much better. His ability to bring the right hand into play and be more offensive is much better. Now, he has had stamina issues in the past, and you have to ask yourself whether that just disappears. He is big at the weight, he's draining himself at the weight, and Lomachenko finishes fights strongly. So would that ability to sweep the championship rounds that he does against so many fighters, he did it against Campbell, he did it against Pedraza, he does this, Lomachenko. Would he be able to turn the tide and bring it back and ensure that he wins the fight? I'm going to leave all of the detailed technical breakdown stuff and predictions for a video if that fight is ever to be announced. But what I will say is that there were some concerning things there for Vasyl Lomachenko, and some things that would have been getting Devin Haney to be licking those chops and thinking, I can't wait to get my hands on this guy. And that's just a reality, and I know it's going to upset a lot of people, but that's just how I see it. Let me know how you think that potential fight would go. Do you think the layoff affected Vasyl Lomachenko? It's not just the year layoff, and at that age, a year is a long time. It's also the fact that there would have been a lot of stress going on outside the ring. You know, a lot of distraction, so to speak. Personally, I'm not ready to put the blame on that for that performance. I thought stylistically there were problems there. But Loma did say, I will have longer preparation and I will be sharper. Let me know what you think about that, ladies and gents. I'm not necessarily asking for a prediction for that fight. But if you're Devin Haney, how do you interpret last night's performance? And if you're Team Lomachenko, are you more concerned than you were before? Or are you more confident than you were before? Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.